Ally is proud to present the NWSL on CBS Sports. Tonight's match between the Houston Dash and the Chicago Red Stars is brought to you by CarMax. Welcome everyone to our coverage tonight from Shell Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas, alongside Leanne Sanderson. I'm JP Dellacamera. We have two teams, Leanne, that have been struggling as of late over the last 5 games. Numbers are not good. Houston doesn't score goals. Chicago can't seem to defend.
Yeah, the statistics for this game doesn't bode well, JP, but I think it still will be a good game. There's a lot of players that have come in. I mean, the Chicago Red Stars back line, we thought that would be their strength. They've been leaking goals left, right and centre. And with the Houston Dash, they can't score goals. Ebony Salmon, great addition for them. You know, and Adonia's coming in as well, but 3 goals between them just isn't enough. So hopefully that can all change tonight.
Let's talk about players to watch tonight. We start with number 7 for Houston, Maria Sanchez.
Yeah, I like Maria Sanchez. You can see it's something so simple, this movement here. I like Adonia's movement in this play as well. But she goes to the front post, and it's a really good finish on the outside of the ball. I like this finish, and you can see Alozia, nice pick out, and it makes it look, Maria Sanchez makes it look so simple, but that's not an easy finish on the outside of the foot, and the movement is there. And anytime they seem to score goals or they seem to assist goals, it's always coming through Maria Sanchez. She's a big player for them. And Ella Stevens, another player, Chicago Red Stars, really makes them tick. I love this ball on the outside of the foot. The weight of pass is sublime. Look at this technique again. And when she gets into these areas, she's unstoppable, and I think she's a real catalyst when it comes to the Chicago Red Stars going forward. We can see this one here. She gets the secondary assist. Ball goes out wide to Griffiths. She ends up cutting it back, and Recaro scores. And that's exactly what Ella Stevens can do within this team. And I think she's finally coming into herself in the last 3 or 4 games when the Chicago Red Stars need to start scoring goals.
She's more of a playmaker, but she also happens to be the club's top scorer. Lineups and the kickoff when we return as Ally presents the NWSL on CBS Sports, live from Houston. Welcome back, everyone, to our coverage from Shell Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas, with Leanne Sanderson. I'm JP Dellacamera. We have the Houston Dash versus the Chicago Red Stars. They meet for a second time during this regular season. Here's the starting 11. We start with the home side, Houston.
Yeah, uncharacteristically, they've gone with a 3 back in this game, JP. But the players that I'm looking for is Ebony Salmon and Ordonez to combine and get more goals between them. Caprice Didasco on the right-hand side, also getting up and down that side, providing a lot of service into those areas that those players can really be efficient in the box. And for the Chicago Red Stars, St. George and Ella Steves, as we highlighted there before the game, I'll be looking for those two players to combine. A late shout within the lineup is Malam coming in, Milazzo going out of the lineup. So that'll be an interesting, they're not going to change formation, but personnel has changed. Something happened in the warm-up, so we'll get more information on that later on.
And Chicago's head coach, Chris Petrucelli, had to make that change. Malam is in. It'll be her first start, her first game in the NWSL season. She has played in the Challenge Cup. The only other change was Bianchi in the starting 11 from last week. And there's Sam Lady. He too has had to make a change. It's 3 in the back. Normally, they'll play with different formations. We've seen 3 before, but that's not their normal formation.
No, it's not. And I think ultimately keeping players on the field of play and not, 2 players got red card in back-to-back games. They've showed good character to come through those games, but keeping everybody in is a major factor within this Houston Dash lineup as well, and ending the game with all 11 players on the field.
Chicago Red Stars in their final huddle. They're in the white uniforms with the red trim in orange. It's their color. Houston Dash. Orange tops, dark shorts. Jane Campbell, leader in all-time games played for this franchise. What a year she is having. Best goals against average in the league. She also has 6 shutouts. She is 4th in saves made. She has played every game. And normally when these two clubs play, it's Campbell versus Alyssa Nair, but Alyssa Nair is not with the U.S. team, ready for another World Cup. So we will see Emily Boyd get her second start of this campaign.
I think Jane Campbell as well, maybe for some people, might have been that 3rd player that might have been picked for the national team. I like her. I think she's a top goalkeeper.
Underway from Houston. That's Natalie Jacobs sending it long. Up for grabs, coming back. St. George, it's picked. Pricehock for Houston. In the back with Lind as part of that back 3. Didasco on the right side. More of a right wing back today. Played back, somewhat risky. Very risky as it turns out. That ball had no pace on it, and Boyd cleared it to safety.
Yeah, not the type of thing you want to be doing so early into the game, making that pass from Casey Kruger back to the goalkeeper, and Houston Dash have got a throw.
It's Didasco. Off Vigiano. And then off Cook. When you have to make a change to the starting 11, a player like Taylor Malam, how do you get used to coming in there like cold like that?
It's difficult. I think it's also positionally when those things happen. I think in the attacking zones, it's much easier. I think in the back line, yes, these players play together, but it's about the continuity of those players, building those consistencies within the back line. Because when you don't ever see coaches having to make a decision there unless a player is injured. Usually they don't change the back line even in game unless someone is playing not that good, which very rarely happens.
Vigiano for the dash. A couple of cuts there, lost it, was dispossessed actually. Moved ahead by Bianchi, and now into the middle it comes. Chicago coming off a 1-0 victory last week versus San Diego. Snapped a 4-game losing streak. Recara's pass a bit too far for St. George.
It's interesting that the Houston Dash have gone into a 3-back as well, because I think most of the times when they've conceded those red cards, I said it to you before, JP, it's because the players are getting caught 1v1 and they almost have no choice but to bring the player down. And they shouldn't be 1v1 all the way that's so far away from goal. But to see out the game against OL Reign in Angel City with 10 players shows great character, shows good mentality. They were compact and they were really hard to break down.
Dash will take off in that right side. Nice move inside. Salmon has help there in the box. It's laid off. That's Garris. Couldn't get it. Sanchez couldn't get it either. Chicago's able to clear it out to the right side for St. George. A Canadian international. That's blocked. Canada is supposed to announce their World Cup roster tomorrow.
Really good play from Ebony Salmon down the right-hand side. That's exactly what Sam Latey will be looking for her to do a little bit more of. In the last game, she didn't start, has become more of an impact player coming off the bench. coming in only scoring 1 goal just isn't enough for a player like Ebony Salmon. Potentially was on the cusp of the national team as well. At one point, she was that player that could have potentially have been a replacement for Alessia Russo or Rachel Daly, but she just hasn't been good enough this season, goal-scoring wise. I think she's very effective when it comes to getting the ball and getting at players, and that's really good. She showed those good signs so early on.
Yeah, you saw the numbers. Gets the most shots on target, with just the 1 goal. St. George with a pass ahead. St. George, surprisingly, I would think, was not part of Canada's preliminary roster when the Canadians put some injured players on there. So we'll see what they announce tomorrow, but she is not on the squad.
See here just direct and how efficient Ebony Salmon is when she's picking up the ball. So direct running, nice little bit of turn of pace as well, and to end, had really good end product. And they just couldn't quite convert, but good play from Ebony Salmon. That's exactly what we'll be looking for her to do early on in the game.
Sanchez tried to cut inside. That is cleared out for a throw-in for Houston. They have scored the fewest goals in the league despite having 3 players immensely talented up top. Sanchez, that's one of them. Nice cross inside, not high enough, cleared away.
Yeah, 3 goals between Ebony Salmon and Ordonez just isn't enough. And then you have to also look at the service that's being provided for them. We saw when Maria Sanchez gets into those areas, Alozia is not obviously there today. She's away with the Nigerian national team for the World Cup. When they do get in those areas, she's able to kind of pull the ball back. We're seeing not much service that's being provided. Caprice Didasco down the right-hand side usually can provide that service. Because like any centre forward, if I was playing and I wasn't receiving the ball, it doesn't matter what your movement's like. If they're not getting the ball higher up the field of play, there's not much that can be done.
Ball deflects back, clear it up.
But you'll always be judged as a centre forward on how many goals you score and how many assists you get. And if you've only got 1 goal, then that's just not enough at this point.
Broken up. Bianchi pushed it ahead. Bianchi under consideration for Brazil's national team, but not a part of that very talented squad. A lot of NWSL players are on that roster. And there are more injuries that teams are checking up on, so don't want to give you an official number, but it's north of 50 NWSL players that are currently on World Cup rosters. On that right side, Salmon has help. Brings it to the middle. Oh, Sanchez was calling for it. They play it out wide instead. Ryan Garris. That cross in the middle, denied. Jacobs got there first, but it goes right to Boyd harmlessly.
In this 3-back, you can see that Jacobs is that player that seems to be a little bit more advanced. Played a really good switch ball out to Ebony Salmon, which allowed her to then also progress up the field of play. Not something you'd expect from a centre-back to be doing, kind of getting involved. But I think Houston Dash have started really bright, and they certainly started on the front foot.
Malum played it back, and then it goes all the way back from Sharples. Sanchez tried to spin. Oh, Recaro gets called for the foul. Match referee is Alyssa Nichols. David Berry is the VAR. Free kick long distance for Houston. Free kicks normally mean Maria Sanchez. Puts one up for grabs. Headed away. Not out of danger yet. Viggiano first to the ball. Does well to keep it in front of her. Viggiano got a shot off. Nothing much on it. And Boyd makes an easy play.
Viggiano got herself in a really good position there, but not the greatest of strikes in the end, but good to get on the ball, showing that willingness. And I like the numbers that were in the box for the Houston Dash.
That's Malum. The right side denied. Dash take over. Sanchez, early ball, laid off nicely. Viggiano behind Ordonez, who recovers, pokes it back. Viggiano shot low and wide. Close call. Some decent movement though by the Dash.
Yeah, I like this from Ordonez. Really good first touch to receive the ball. They've certainly started on the front foot and good positioning. Again, good areas, not the greatest of strikes from Viggiano, but it's good that she's getting into those areas so early on. I love the first time touch from Ordonez as well to set that up. Something so simple, that seems simple to just set the ball back in one touch, but it's a really difficult skill.
Boyd will clear it long, just outside the circle. Red Stars take over. Bit of a clumsy foul there. Prysock. Cook was the player that went down. A couple of goals on the season for Cook, both coming in a game against Angel City. We rushed that one, and in the end, it was too far for number 32, Taylor Malum.
Those are the opportunities, something, again, so simple I think they need to make the most of. You can see Malum made that run, but it wasn't the greatest of balls. And it's also difficult from a player's perspective. I know your coach always says, make sure you're always ready, prepare the way you would as if you're starting. But she would have got that call really late on that she was going to be starting for Milazzo. We knew that she was named, Milazzo was named in the starting 11. And then in the warm-up, something must have happened. And Malum's come into the lineup. And that's not an easy thing to do from a player's perspective.
Throwing here for Houston. 10th minute, zeros on the board from Shell Energy Stadium. Viggiano, Didasco, pulling it back for Viggiano. Lind, Prysock, under pressure from Cook. Katie Lind going forward. And that's going to be given away. Back to Boyd. Not only is Houston missing 6 players on international duty, but 2 starters also recently injured. Anderson was one of them, Joelle Anderson, who had been a starter for them in the midfield, and Sophie Hurst is the other. Missing 2 midfielders. They're light in that department tonight. Here's Peterson with a wild cross, denied. Strange clearance, but they get out of it and break. St. George putting it into space for Cook. Good run back. And Cook ends up pushing off on Lind.
Good recovery from Lind. I think the Houston Dash, although it's only 10 minutes into the game, looked really comfortable in the back 3. It's not an easy thing to adapt to. We know they've done it once or twice this season already, but not many times using the later parts of the game. They certainly look comfortable, and all the players seem to know their roles and responsibilities when they're on the attack. And I've said it many times, the Houston Dash, when they were picking up red cards, is because their players were left 1v1 from quite far away, and that cannot happen. Whereas now you can see Caprice Didasco getting down the right-hand side, getting higher up the field, being able to provide that service for Ordonez and Sanchez and Ebony Salmon.
When Hurst and Anderson come back, it will be interesting to see if Houston stays with a back 3. Or will he go back because he's got 2 quality midfielders back in there?
It's a good problem for Sam Leighton to have those strength and depth. We've seen during this time when some of the national team players are gone, certain teams, it hits them more and affects them more, and others it doesn't. And we saw some really, I would say, surprise results last weekend in the NWSL.
Clearance from Prysock, sent back by Malum. Garris gives that ball a ride over the halfway line. Headed forward by Davidson. On the move back. Sanchez wasn't even looking. It looked like when she let that one go to Garris. And off Malum. Should be a Houston corner.
Great reverse pass from Maria Sanchez. I love this. Great awareness, great way to pass, exactly where you want to play that ball, in between the fullback and the centre back. Garris maybe should have done a little bit better, but it looks like it takes a deflection. But good positioning, good areas to be getting into.
th minute, corner. Didasco will take this one for Houston, goes short. Garris cutting it back, Sanchez. Draws so much attention whenever she has the ball. Out for another corner.
I'm surprised that Garris didn't just serve this one into the box. The short corner did sell the Chicago Red Stars. They weren't really proactive, they were more reactive. But then to play that third pass, they should have just put it into the box, because at that point, Maria Sanchez had about 2 or 3 players around her. But Chicago Red Stars need to be a bit more reactive on this corner.
This is Didasco's second year with Houston, sending this one long, headed across. Not sure how that one doesn't go in. Looked like it was headed in the right direction. Good effort.
I love this corner from Caprice Didasco. You can see Prisak on the back post. Good header to head it back across. Really good header to head it back across. She looked like she was almost going for goal, but to me it looks like she was heading it back across goal, and in good positioning to be able to clear it off the line. It was actually Stevens in the end that cleared it off the line.
Off another corner, straight up, off Sharples. Second ball brought down. Bianchi clears it ahead. Griffith tried to put that ball into space, cut off, and then played back by Houston all the way back to Campbell.
Chicago Red Stars could have been on the break there, because Jacobs was actually down for quite a long period of time. Thankfully, she looks like she's okay. They could have gone on the break, the Chicago Red Stars, but really good recovery from the Houston Dash.
Veteran Davidson goes back to goal. Davidson and Kruger in consideration for the U.S. women's national team at this upcoming World Cup, but did not make it. You see Davidson wearing the captain's armband, with Alyssa Nair, their regular captain, gone with the U.S. team. Recaro blocked. Nice recovery. We'll switch it. Malum is alone. Not for long. Garris closes. Malum cuts to the middle. Laid off to Recaro. Sharples blocked. On the recovery, plays it back. Chicago earlier this year was playing with 3 in the back. Then they went with 4, back to 3, and back with 4. Ever since Sharples came in, she solidified that back unit.
I like Kayla Sharples. I think she's a fantastic player, carrying the ball out from the back. Defends well, went to 1v1.
St. George with a cross. Griffith on the chase. Good defending by Didasco, and she won it. Vigiano looking for Ordonez, who pushes off.
I think as well, going back to Kayla Sharples in the Challenge Cup when she started that game and came out at half-time, I was critical of Chris Petroselli because I couldn't quite understand it. Then I realised they were managing her minutes still. I think now that they don't have to manage the minutes, she's getting more running, more game time.
She had that horrific injury. This is that scoreless streak that they've had. I mean, you can't win if you don't score. I mean, getting the shutout, you always have a chance, but you still have to score goals, and they've not been able to do it in the last 4 in all competitions, despite Ordonez, Sanchez, Salmon.
Yeah, 414 minutes, almost a month since you scored a goal. 15 shots on target in 5 games just isn't enough. You know, they do say the cliche, if you don't shoot, you don't score. But you just can't have those types of numbers and expect to win games.
Played back by Sanchez. Right sideline. Didasco. Vigiano. Ordonez makes a run down the middle. It goes to Salmon instead. Salmon going wide of Casey Kruger. Off the back heel, Bianchi collects. Finds Griffith. Laid off by Stevens. Looked like it was overhit, but it actually wasn't. Malum collects it. Nice play by Malum. Edge of the box, cutting it back in front, a deflection, and Didasco's able to clear it.
Well played, Malum. Really good play down the right-hand side. You can see she almost got into an area and she thought, nobody's coming to me, I'm just going to keep going. Really good, showed really good conviction. I like this switch play. Really good ball out to the right-hand side. You can see Malum picks up the ball with a lot of directness. Nice error, like the drop of the shoulder.
Recaro finding St. George, flag stayed down. Now it's up.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that.
You had your hand up before the assistant referee.
I know. As soon as I saw it, you could kind of tell from those positionings and angles.
Jane Campbell will put it back into play. Scoreless from Houston. Chicago's been the better team in the Lifetime series, but Houston has won the last 4 regular season meetings, including twice last year. They won this year too in Chicago. Ordonez scoring on a penalty kick. That was one of the 2 goals that was scored. Sanchez had the other one early in the game. Here's Ella Stevens. Nice ball in. The shot taken though was blocked. That should have been a nice assist for Stevens. You talked about her passing in the pregame. She had Griffith open.
Yeah, Griffith should have scored. Really good play from Ella Stevens. I spoke about it before the game, the assists that she can get from that number 10 spot. She does it quite a lot and creates a lot of opportunities for St. George. And Griffiths, just, once they get in those positions, I feel like they don't have any composure. They're just almost hitting it and hoping it goes in the back of the net. I want to see them get into those positions, drop the shoulder. Easier said than done, take it around the keeper, but almost visualize what you're going to do before you get it. Great play from Ella Stevens. I love this type of creativity. Sells 2 or 3 players. Great weight of pass. Now here, you know, you've hit it first time, hit it early, have a look and see where Jane Campbell is, and then put it, slot it past or take it around the goalkeeper. Make them make a save. We see them get into these positions a lot, the Chicago Red Stars, and they kind of don't freeze the goalkeeper. They just kind of hit and hope it goes in.
Yeah, flag goes up. Of course, they're missing their best goal scorer, their best player, Mallory Swanson, who was injured very early in the season, and you just don't replace Mallory Swanson.
You don't, and I think it's something that happened obviously early on in the season, and it's always been a talking point. You'd like to think that they kind of get to a point where someone else is taking that responsibility on. No one probably can replace Mallory Swanson, she's that good, but you'd like to think other players potentially could get into those areas. And don't get me wrong, players are trying, but that would always be the topic of conversation because they're not scoring goals and they're conceding so many.
Chris Petroselli's had to deal with a lot of injuries to key players, Swanson being the big one. A lot of teams have depth in a lot of positions, but when your top offensive player goes down, you can't replace them.
I think that on the flip side for the Chicago Red Stars, during this time the national team players are gone. I actually think they've got a pretty solid 11 when it comes to the players they still have that are there.
Well, they've only lost 2.
Yeah, and you can see they've not really been competing. They've been bottom of the table for a long time. And I think you can see the reasons why, because they're conceding so many goals. It sounds strange to say that because they have Alyssa Nair in the net, but it's not her fault. It's based upon them not possessing the ball higher up the field of play. I think in the last game against the San Diego Wave, they certainly did that. And I've seen progression even in the Challenge Cup, even in the game against Gotham that they lost. I felt like they possessed the ball much better and were causing more problems, and that's all you can ask. From a coaching perspective, it must be quite difficult when you implement your game plans and it feels like the players, seems like they're not listening based upon them just keep conceding goals.
It's one game at a time. They're coming off a victory last week. If they could win tonight on the road, it'd be 2 straight. Maybe they have some momentum. Of course, there'll be a little bit of a break as the World Cup will begin soon. So we'll have the Challenge Cup, and then NWSL will take a little bit of a break and then return in August. Prysock for Lind. 22nd minute. 0's on the board as it's played long. Flicked almost in stride the Salmon unintentionally, but it goes out now for throw-in for Houston.
You can see the Houston Dasher being much more direct with Emily Salmon out on the right-hand side. It's interesting because she can alternate as well with Garris on the left or on the right. But in this half, she's been more down the right-hand side and looked more comfortable. I think they're also switching the ball very well with Lind and Jacobs and Prisak as well.
Join the Houston Dash for the next home game. It's coming up on July the 29th when they host Racing Louisville in the UKG NWSL Challenge Cup. Just visit houstondash.com for details. Houston was a Challenge Cup winner back in 2020. It's their only trophy. Malum on the right. Recaro. Bianchi trying to get it out wide. That's blocked. Picked up and then lost. Advantage call here as Stevens goes forward. Ella Stevens looking, thinking about it, then lost it in the end. Comes all the way back out to Bianchi. Griffith. Farther back. Sharples. Pressured there, she got it forward.
That was actually really good initial positioning from Caprice Didasco. They're going into a four-back when they're defending at times. You can see it. But I also think that was good play from her, but it was just because she gave away the ball, which allowed the Chicago Red Stars to come straight back at them.
Casey Kruger slowed down. Got clipped there, recovers. And now they're going to blow the whistle.
It's such an unnecessary free kick from Ebony Salmon. It was a definite foul. I thought the referee was trying to play advantage. This is an actual dangerous area to concede a free kick and a set piece, because a good delivery in here from Bianchi could really cause a problem. It was just an unnecessary free kick from Ebony Salmon.
Bianchi is ready. 25-year-old Brazilian midfielder. First year with Chicago. Puts one up into the box, and it bounced wide.
That is a fantastic ball from Bianchi. It was crying out for someone to just put their head on it, get on the end of it. There was almost 2 or 3 players that just didn't continue their run. I don't know why Ella Stevens didn't continue the run and anticipate that ball going through. It was a great ball into the box.
Cook went for it, but didn't get it. I wonder if that threw Stevens off, maybe?
Yeah, potentially. It was a good run from Cook, but I still think the players have to anticipate that type of ball. That's exactly where, Bianchi puts in a good ball. That's exactly where every player should be looking to put that ball, in between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box, the real danger area that someone can attack it.
Service was good. On a bounce, Houston trying to get it. Warren is aggressive there. Davidson. Sharples. Nice touch for Malum. I think that went out, no? Apparently not the entire ball. No, yes it was. Just a late whistle, but that ball was out. '26th minute, even on the scoreboard. Peterson with a throw-in. Starting now with Alyssa Chapman off on international duty with Canada. Throw-in is now reversed. Either side look better to you?
I think so. I think it's actually been, we speak about the statistics before the game, the last 5 games, it wasn't good enough. I think with the Chicago Red Stars coming off of that win against the San Diego Wave, it's amazing. We talk about momentum in this league. Any given day, I talk about it all the time. I sound like a stuck record, but anyone can beat anyone. All the coaches know that. All the coaching staff know that. The players know that. So it's amazing what can happen when you put 2 or 3 wins together in this league. A team like the San Diego Wave would sit in top of the table before we did the Angel City game. They lose that game 2-1, and then now, they've gone on not on the greatest of runs.
Yeah, they're in 6th place now. They were closer to 1st.
So it can be reversed. It can be you lose the game, you start to lose momentum.
Griffith fires! What an opportunity for Griffith. The 27th minute, Peterson's down.
That was a strange one because it almost looked like everybody kind of stopped, anticipating, but the referee doesn't have to do anything. Continue the play. If Griffiths could have maybe tried to keep on her feet when she tried to take that strike, it looked like it was decent, but there wasn't much pace on it by the time it got to goal, and she was off balance and then ended up falling down.
Training staff is out to take a closer look. Here in the 28th minute, scoreless between Houston and Chicago. Both of these teams have a break until August 19th for Houston, August 24th or 20th for Chicago, but they will have a Challenge Cup game in there in between that. Both teams affected by rosters tonight due to the Women's World Cup starting and also some injuries. Houston's list is much longer than Chicago's in both. See if Peterson's going to be okay to come back.
It's interesting because a lot of coaches and players always talk about when you play in Houston, the heat and the types of temperatures. And that was something that I asked Sam earlier in the week. How difficult is that from a managerial perspective? Because these players have to play there. Yes, they could be more acclimatized, but sometimes they're going to need more time to recover. They're going to need more rest because they're training in it every single day. And I think a lot of teams, when they do go to Houston and play there, sometimes it's difficult and it takes, I know a lot of coaches have spoken about how long it takes them to recover from the games in Houston.
100-degree temperatures. A friend of mine told me today it hit 104 there.
And you can hydrate all you want, but those types of things do help. Obviously, they're not going to hinder you, but it's difficult, those types of conditions, playing in them. Having said that, I'd rather play there than play in England, because whenever I played in England, my feet were like icicles. So I'd take Houston all day long.
Garris will play it back. Brysock with Cook there. That's blocked. Courtney Peterson is up by the fourth official, waiting for the referee's permission, and now you can see her getting waved onto the field. Almost at the half-hour mark, it's Kruger pushing it wide on Griffith's side. Bianchi kept it on the deck. That's off Cook. Kruger finds it. Knocked away, and Kruger knows it's a throw-in for Chicago. Got it in quickly to Griffith. Can she turn? She'll fire, but it's not close. It's off Bianchi and then cleared all the way back into Chicago territory. Boyd settles. Sharples. That one's blocked. Flicked forward. Salmon has options. Lays it off. Ordonez blocked. It's still loose. And that foul's going to go against Houston. Despite the Ordonez protest, I believe we're going to have a hydration break here. If I read that referee's signal correct.
I think this ball from Ebony Salmon needed to be played a little bit with a bit more pace, something so simple. She gets into really good areas. I like the way that Natalie Jacobs got the play going. You can see she actually continued her run from the centre-back position. That ball from Ebony Salmon had allowed Ordonez to have to come inside, whereas if the weighter pass was a little bit more in front of her, then she could have run onto it and probably hit it first time. Good areas from Ebony Salmon to be getting into, just the weighter pass needs to be a little bit better.
Hydration break right here at the half-hour mark. We're in the 31st minute of play. Lots to talk about for these two teams. They've been close to goal, but not close enough.
Yeah, I think the game's kind of played out the way we kind of expected it to. I would say the Houston Dash have had more of the momentum. I think we've seen Sam Leahy on the last break they had. He brought out the tactics board and he's shown them a few things. I think they've looked pretty comfortable in a three-back, and I'm sure they practiced it during this week. But you talk about the injuries they've had in the midfield and those types of areas, players having to come in, and I think it's just a problem all coaches are going to have to deal with during this break. I think they've been preparing, a lot of coaches have been preparing for it for 6 or 7 months. It's not just all of a sudden they've woke up and realised they're going to lose their national team players. And then it's up to certain players then to have to step up, and maybe they can retain their spots when those players come back. You never know.
Yeah, coaches are in a tough spot, right? They know they're going to lose players. Like we talked to coaches at the beginning of the year and said, how many do you think you could lose? And some would say, you know, could be 5, could be 6, could be 7, right? So if you lose those players, that's one thing. But then what about in the case of Chicago, where you have Kruger and Davidson and Bianchi, and none of them go? Has to be disappointing to the player. And as a coach, how do you balance that? How do you get that player back up? It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I think Chris Petroselli, I said before that I think this could be a really good time for the Chicago Red Stars, having Tiana Davison still there, Casey Kruger. Those types of players will still be hurting, and those moments are difficult when you see the team and you see them setting off to go to Australia and New Zealand. It's not an easy situation to be in for anyone when they don't get selected. But the great thing about football is that you have another opportunity, and they have this platform where they can show exactly why they should have been selected.
Hydration break is over. Ordonez and company trying to get on the board. I showed you that stat earlier. It's been 4 games in all competitions and several minutes. It was north of 400 minutes when we started, 414, and add another 32 to that. It's not a statistic that they want to hear about.
No, it isn't. I think when one goes in, a lot of goals will go in from a centre forward's perspective. I also look at how and where are they going to score from, the areas they're getting into. Are they putting themselves into goal scoring opportunity areas? Yes, they are. Where is the service coming from? That's the only question. It looks like when the Houston Dash do score, Maria Sanchez gets the ball, gets that assist or gets the goal. Ebony Salmon looks like she's going to have to do something, you know, play a wonder strike or get her someone 1v1 for that to happen.
Salmon on the right, runners left and in the center. Salmon versus Kruger. Salmon playing it across, headed across the mouth of goal. Brought down, Viggiano is blocked. Stevens won it, cleared it up the middle. Picked in the circle by Prysock. Off Peterson. Chicago collects, and they rushed that one.
It seemed like Ebony Salmon heard me because I said for them to score, she has to get in those 1v1 situations, and she definitely did. But I will say that with regards to Houston Dash, they're getting into those areas. It just needs to be better service. I like Natalie Jacobs today. I think she's possessing the ball higher up the field from that centre-back spot. You can see she's that player that's dropping in to those areas.
St. George pushing it over. Bianchi on the move. Player down, that's Cook. Outside the box, that's Griffith on the ball. Pressured by Didasco. Kruger. Out for a throw-in. Kruger missed all of last year. Had a baby. Came right back. Got her starting job back. Earned it, obviously. But has played as many games as she's been on the roster for this season. The Jacobs pass out. Recaro, the veteran, moving forward. Has Kruger. Recaro sliding it left. Griffith, options, driven across. The look was for Stevens. The flag's up.
I was trying to figure out why Natalie Jacobs is able to receive the ball so higher up. And it looks like they started in a 3-back and they look like they've gone to a 4-back, and she looks like she's moved into that almost defensive midfield spot because she's able to get back to front. It's not something we usually see. It looks like Caprice Didasco has moved back into that full-back position in a flat-back 4, kind of like where we used to seeing her play. We used to see her getting up and back. You can see when the ball will then go on the return in a minute, it looks like they're dropping in a little bit deeper, and Natalie Jacobs is playing in that almost defensive midfield spot, as you can see in this picture here. Which is not something we've used to seeing them do, but she looks pretty comfortable doing that. Hence the fact she's been on the edge of the 18-yard box a little bit more in the last 10-15 minutes.
Ball sent forward. Long run for Stevens, but it's Campbell at the edge of the box, grabbing it. Another whistle here in the 37th minute because Salmon is down upfield. Well, second player down. Peterson was the first, plus you had the hydration break, so who knows what we'll see for stoppage time. Didn't see what happened initially to Salmon. She is being looked at now.
It looked like she went up for just a header with Casey Kruger. It looked pretty innocuous and ends up coming off. Hopefully she's going to be okay.
She's off the field. We'll give you our best look at what we think happened.
It looked like she was going up for a ball with Casey Kruger.
Couldn't tell from that look. Was it? I don't think it was head to head, but hard to see. Back to live action. It's whipped across. Playing a player down right now, though, is Houston, with Salmon being looked at. Left sideline. A lot of room there. Garris has speed. Plays it across. And those are some of the plays that have hurt Houston this year. Sam Lady, the head coach, was talking about that. The service, the pass, the decision, all of it.
Yeah, I like the ball from Maria Sanchez initially. And then Garris here just has to be a little bit smarter. You can see, you know, you're down to 10 players because Ebony Salmon's gone off. Just maybe take your time. You don't have to play that ball early. You can see Ordonez was on the edge of the box. There was 3 players in good positions for the Chicago Red Stars. So just be a little bit cuter and delay that ball into the box.
Last week against North Carolina, they had 11 shots. Only one of them was on target. And so one of the things they talked about was, you know, where are your positions when you're taking these shots? You're taking bad angle shots. You're too far away. Your percentage shots.
Firstly, on the positive, it's a good thing they're getting into those areas, because some teams don't progress up the field of play like the Houston Dash do. But when they're getting into those areas, though, JP, you're completely right. They're wasting the ball. They're not waiting for the right opportunity. There's even miscommunications.
Salmon wants back in. Waiting to get the referee's permission. Across the way it goes to Malum. Sharples. She's had a long comeback from an ACL injury. That's why she wasn't starting at the beginning of the year. That ball out. Let's see if Salmon's going to come back in.
I think when I see both these teams play this season a lot, I think when I see their patterns of play, I don't really see where the goals are going to come from. It's almost like for the Houston Dash, we're going to get it to Maria Sanchez and hopefully she can create something. The Chicago Red Stars, St. George will cause problems and getting at them, or Ella Stevens will. I'm not quite sure where the goals are particularly going to come from and who's going to create them for them to happen.
Salmon is back on the field, so that's a good sign. Chicago on the ball. St. George, oh, poor pass there. Left side, Garris. Held up on this near side. Stripped away. Chicago wins it.
St. George was so fortunate there because she gave away the ball in a really bad area, in a really bad spot. We all make mistakes. We all gave away the ball, but it was a really square ball and it almost allowed the Houston Dash to break.
Speaking of break, but that ball was too far away. Otherwise, Garris had the sideline.
You see that a lot with the Houston Dash. They're just that little bit off, a little bit. They're not far away. You can see Garris made that run. They just got overhit the ball. But once they get ticking, it could be quite good.
Ball knocked out of play. The NWSL is back on Paramount Plus tomorrow night. San Diego Wave taking on the Washington Spirit. Coverage starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific here on Paramount Plus. Lynn on the ball. Pushing it right. Didasco. Katie Lynn tried to go long, and that's off target. It is settled there. Davidson keeping it on the ground for Cook, who is plowed over. Easy foul to call on Houston on Lind. Free kick for Chicago. Team that's given up 33 goals this season, by far the most in the league. A shutout last game and doing all right defensively here in the first half.
Yeah, definitely progression. I've spoken a lot about the amount of goals they're leaking, and you just can't. There's so many times I felt sorry for Alyssa Nair because she's a fantastic goalkeeper, but just not really been able to show just how good she is. And I think even in the games when they lost 4-0, the fives, I think it could have been more if she wasn't in the back of in the goal. So, but yeah, you can't leak goals like that. And with the players they have, it's surprising that they've leaked so many goals with Casey Kruger and Tiana Davison and Milazzo and those types of players.
Cook couldn't get to that. Jacobs took it away. Outlet pass to Garris. Runs onto the ball. Put it in the middle. Ordonez. It's a Great idea. If it finds its way, Salmon does get there and then blasted it away.
That is such a great ball from Ordonez. Absolutely brilliant. One touch out of her feet, picks Ebony Salmon out. And this is an example of what we were talking about, JP. That has to be better. Be more composed, take your touch, get out the player 1v1. I'm a big fan of Ebony Salmon, but that's a bit of a waste for me. In those areas, you're getting the ball, you've got to make something work. You're 1v1 with somebody. It's almost like just hitting it, as opposed to having any type of thought process behind what you're trying to do. Great ball from Ordonez.
Boyd. Kruger. Casey turning it upfield, member of the 2020 U.S. Olympic team. Cook. Griffith. Kruger. Made a nice move and drew the foul on Salmon.
Well played, Casey Kruger. Really good play, nice and composed. We speak a lot about the players that haven't made their national team rosters. I think one thing that has to be said, the psychological side of it and your mindset. Players don't have much time to process when they're selected or when they're not selected. And I think when you don't get selected, you know, when Vlatko made those calls around and when the national team coaches made the calls, the players had to play like 2 days later. And that's a difficult thing to have to do.
Davidson. Kruger from the Yankee. Sharples. Headed up by St. George. Headed up the middle, but Jacobs is there to collect it. And then a foul. Quick restart. Jacobs. Maria Sanchez, Mexican international. Over the top. That's Garris. Trying to cut inside. Boyd off the line. Grabs it.
Again, getting into really good areas. Fantastic ball from Maria Sanchez. No backlift on it. Great weight of pass into those areas. Fantastic ball. And again, they're getting in good areas. But just it's not falling for them, or the touch is heavy, or the decision making just needs to be a lot better. But again, it's good they're getting into those areas. You can see the touch here, which allows Malum to just come. And Boyd comes out and collects it.
Minimum of 5 minutes added on in stoppage time that is presented by Verizon. Garris took a hit there in the end. Appears to be okay. She's walking off under her own power. In the first minute of stoppage time, it's scoreless from Houston. One of 3 games today in the NWSL. There's another one tomorrow. We mentioned San Diego and Washington. Sunday, there's a couple more games. Boyd will put it back into play for Chicago. Played in a few games last year. You don't get to play much when Alyssa Nair is in front of you. But Boyd will be the starter as Garris is back during these Challenge Cup games. You assume they'll want to give her as much time as she can with Nair gone.
Yeah, and a great person and player to learn from in Alyssa Nair.
Oof. That was head-to-head, or it seemed like it, but Cook came out of that okay. Can't say the same for Lind, necessarily. I think she got the worst of that. Can be a very physical game.
Lind took that quite well because Cook obviously has that facial covering as well.
Referee is going to make them retake it. Sam Blady there just had a conversation, looked like with the 4th official. Not sure what they're, I think I know what they're doing. They're reviewing this to see if something with Cook. If that was a dangerous play, that could have been a red card. That's my only guess. VAR we have. That would be my only guess why they would be stopping play at this moment to look. It didn't seem like it would be, but it's done anyway. But as Cook was part of that discussion, that's the only guess.
Yeah, I understand your assumption there, JP. It's hard to know really what exactly was being said.
Houston's ball. We're in the 4th minute of stoppage time. Whistle is blown again. It'll be a throw-in for Didasco. In for Jacobs. Lost it there. Recaro tried to go quickly for Cook. That was too quick. Another Didasco throw-in. Vigiano. Jacobs. Nice toe poke ahead, but just missed Sanchez. And Chicago can counter. Bianchi. Couldn't get through. And now Chicago must defend. Sanchez laid it off. Block, but it goes out of play.
That was quite a strange one from Maria Sanchez because Garris made that run on the left-hand side and she almost did a pirouette in the middle of the pitch in the field of play to then go backwards.
Peterson over the top. But Boyd saw it all the way. We're in the last minute of stoppage time, unless more is added on. Emily Boyd picks it back up. She's out of the University of California, Berkeley. Drives this one long. Forward for Cook. Ava Cook putting one in. St. George with Kemba off the line. It's rolling toward goal. Cleared by Didasco.
Great ball from Cook. I thought St. George did everything right in this situation. Really good ball, really good play. Great ball, great way to pass. I thought St. George did very well to put herself in that position to be able to kind of make it her ball. Did everything right, and Caprice Didasco did a really good clearance off the line. Didn't have much pace on the ball, but it was definitely going into the goal.
Past 5 minutes of stoppage time. Ordonez leaves it. Peterson up the wing. Ball going out for a throw-in. Sharples. Kayla Sharples going forward. Missed Cook. Jacobs. Into the middle. Laid off by Vigiano for Didasco. Almost 6 minutes gone here in stoppage time. Played long by Didasco. Not long enough as Davidson cleared it. In that scramble, Chicago ended up recovering. But that should do it. First half. Zeros on the board. Your thoughts, Leanne?
I think Houston Dash have probably had the better momentum. They've created more opportunities. Apart from there at the end when St. George had that one chance. But other than that, I don't think Chicago Red Stars have really threatened the goal. I think Houston Dash have possessed the ball very well. But again, just need to have a little bit more composure in that final third area.
So that scoreless streak is at 459 consecutive minutes without a goal. The last goal scored June 11th. Maria Sanchez, who leads his team in goals scored with 3. So of these two teams, Chicago would be the happier, if you want to say that, of the two. They're on the road, and they did not concede a goal in the first 45 minutes of play. Houston and Chicago are scoreless here. We'll return to this Ally NWSL broadcast after this on Paramount Plus. Welcome back, everyone, to the NWSL on CBS Sports from Houston, Texas. Houston and Chicago scoreless after 45 minutes of play. Well, it's nearly time for the World Cup. Players from all countries getting ready to head to Australia and New Zealand, including Houston's own Michelle Alozia with Nigeria. Here she is trying to get familiar with one of the delicacies from down under.
Okay, I'm gonna try Vegemite for the first time. Don't smell it. Should I some out? So right when you eat it, I actually taste gas. Gasoline. Interesting. It's just concentrated yeast extract.
I would say this. Michelle is very brave. I'm glad she was laughing in the end. That's not something I would do. How about you?
No, I cannot stand it. We have the equivalent in England, Marmite, and its literally slogan is you either love it or you hate it, and I absolutely cannot stand it.
Did she say it tasted like gasoline?
She did, and I completely agree.
Tasted like gasoline. I would just say 3 words: no, thank you. Scoreless at the half. We're coming back. Highlights and more when we return. Welcome back, everyone, to the NWSL on CBS Sports with Leanne Sanderson. I'm JP Dellacamera. Scoreless after 45 minutes between Houston and Chicago. Here are the highlights.
Yeah, I love this type of ball and the type of passing they were doing in this first half. can see this ball from Maria Sanchez. She got on the ball so many times, and Garris ends up hitting it into, and it goes out for a corner kick. But Maria Sanchez, great reverse pass. She got into these areas about 2 or 3 times within the game, and she's looked really dangerous within this game. On this one, we can see Caprice Didasco taking the corner to Prisak on the back post. It looked like she was heading it back across goal towards Jacobs, and it's a really good ball from Caprice Didasco. A nice deep one to the far post. Prisak does really well to get it back across. And this one is exactly what we highlighted before the game. Ella Stephen gets on the ball, plays the ball through to St George and gets into those areas to Griffiths, and she probably should have put it in the back of the net from Griffiths. Great ball from Ella Stevens. And Griffiths just needs to have a look where Jane Campbell is, but good they're getting into those types of areas. And again, Cook picks up the ball in really good areas and plays a really good through ball. This was just towards the end of the first half. I thought St George did everything well. Jane Campbell was frozen, and then Caprice Didasco comes across. Wasn't much pace on the ball by the time it got towards goal, which allowed Caprice Didasco to come across. But good areas for Chicago Red Stars to be in, and they need to get into the second half, into those areas.
First half numbers are very low. 3 shots for each team, and 3 total shots were on target. On the plus side for Chicago, their possession much better. That is something head coach Chris Petrucelli said he wanted to focus on, have more possession so they don't have to chase as much defensively. So I would think you would be pleased with that stat. No bookings in the first half of play, a total of 10 fouls, but no goals at this moment. 45 minutes in the books. Come back with us for the second half. We'll look at any changes that might be made. We'll return with the second half of this Ally NWSL broadcast here on CBS Sports. scoreless after 45 minutes of play. It's the 7th time this season that the Dash have kept an opponent off the scoreboard in the first half of play. Only North Carolina has done it more times, 8 through this weekend. Not as busy this weekend, at least not tonight, but throughout the weekend, everybody's going to be in action. Orlando defeats OL Reign by the score of 1-0. A bit of a surprising score there, although Leanne, can it be any of a bit of a surprise knowing how many players are away right now on World Cup duty?
Definitely, and we saw that last weekend. There was a few shock results. I think Chicago Red Stars versus the San Diego Wave, and then again Washington Spirit losing to the Orlando Pride. So maybe they're a team that will pick up a lot of points within this national team when the national team players are gone. There's still a lot of really good games coming up this weekend. I'm on that one tomorrow night, the San Diego Wave versus the Washington Spirit, and we've got a lot of other games to come on Sunday as well.
Good one. How about North Carolina? They play on Sunday. They're actually in first place, but the race is so close that there's not that many points that separate first place from the last place position, which is 6th place in that playoff race. 6 points separating 1 North Carolina from 6 San Diego. And Houston's only a couple points behind San Diego.
Yeah, and this is why this league, I say all the time, JP, is the best, because anyone could beat anyone on any given day. You can't afford any types of slip-ups. The concentration has to be there all the time, because you can concede. The San Diego Wave are top of the league. I said it during commentary, the game that we did against Angel City, they lose that game and now they're in 6th. So, but then again, they can end up finishing in 1st or 2nd. You never know.
We've confirmed no changes to start the second half of play. 3 big points up for grabs for these two teams. You've got a Chicago team that's in last place right now. 7 consecutive years they've made the playoffs. That streak is in jeopardy, but there's still a lot of games to be played.
Yeah, the one thing about the Chicago Red Stars, whenever I used to play against them, they were always a difficult team to play against. They were that annoying team you couldn't quite break down. You know, they had Danny Colaprico, Vanessa DiBernardo, those types of players over the years. And Ella Massa as well, who's their assistant coach, was there playing for a number of years. So they've always had a good pedigree of players, consistent within the league and difficult to beat.
Houston, if you're just joining us, in the orange tops, dark shorts, in white, Chicago Red Stars. Ebony Salmon on the move, right side, playing into the middle. No shot taken there. Finally it's settled. Quick one by Ordonez, missed the target.
I think Houston Dash looks so good when Ebony Salmon's picking up the ball and driving at players and being direct. We saw this in the first half. In the opening 30 seconds of the first half, it's almost like...
Pushing it across on the right side. Katie Lind, Houston in their back 3 that they started with tonight. Neither team getting many shots, 3 apiece in the opening half of play. And of the 6 shots, half of them were on target. That's it.
I think for the Chicago Red Stars, Chris Petroselli talks about possessing the ball, keeping hold of the ball. I think in their field areas, in Bianchi and Recaro, they need to do better at getting on the ball and possessing it.
St. George up the middle, has options right and left. And that deflects to Cook, who played it forward. Player down in the box, but there's no call. Is it Stevens who's down?
It was a good run from St. George. She got into those areas and it never really looked like anybody could kind of keep up with her. She looked like she was kind of out there on her own, just trying to make something and get towards goal, a little bit more options. But I think in the midfield for the Chicago Red Stars, I said it, they need to possess the ball a little bit better to be able to get the attacking going.
How about Ella Stevens? We talked about her being more of a playmaker, yet she's got 4 goals, leads the team. 8 shots, 5 on target. That's efficiency plus.
It is efficiency, and Ella Stevens has been a really good player for the Chicago Red Stars. I think a bright spark, even when they're conceding goals, she always looks like she's dangerous, has a really good eye for a pass in those areas, in the areas that can really affect another team. But I think the ball has to get to her a little bit more, and that's why I mentioned, you know, Bianchi and Recaro, to be able to get on the ball a little bit more, to be able to find Ella Stevens higher up the field of play.
Held up there on that right side. It's coming back into the Chicago half. Outside the circle, Bianchi. St. George taken away. Garris tried to go long. long sprint for Ordonez, and Davidson made sure she couldn't go inside of her there. Cleared out. Throw in Houston. Here's a player we were talking about, Ella Stevens. He's had to do more, of course, with Mallory Swanson's injury.
I think we're talking about obviously completely different types of players, but I think obviously if Mallory Swanson was there, it would allow Ella Stevens to probably have way more assists than she even already does, being able to combine in those areas. But I like the quality that she shows.
Kruger and Davidson, and the miscommunication, but they didn't have to pay the price there. They each thought the other was going to clear that ball. Right side on the attack. St. George. And lost it, looks like on her own. Yes, goal kick for Campbell.
Both players in St. George and Ebony Salmon, they find themselves in really good areas. They get themselves into really good areas. Just a little bit more composure is needed, I think, from, and I use those both those players. I think they've had an impact in this game. They get into those areas and they kind of run out of ideas, or they don't pick a player out, or they choose the wrong option. I think St. George always looks dangerous when she's got the ball, when she's running. I just think she needs to combine a little bit more with the other players in those areas in the 18-yard box.
In the past, we've seen St. George play in the back, but she plays much higher up with Chicago.
And she looks comfortable. Yeah. She looks dangerous.
She does.
I think it's just a matter of making the better decisions in those areas, and maybe teammates making those runs for her as well.
That's Griffith. And then cleared out to safety by Houston. Will we see a goal in this one? Here's Recaro. Right side. In the box was Griffith, but that cross was well wide of her. Gathered in. Kruger tackled out. Throw in here. Casey Kruger. Griffith, end line. Nowhere to go. Again, it's knocked out of play.
Griffiths came on against Gotham and got a really good assist for Recaro's goal. And that's where I want to see her in those areas, being able to impact.
Ava Cook didn't give up on that play, but in the end, it was lost by Chicago. Goal kick for Campbell.
I think obviously we talk a lot about the lack of goals, the lack of shots on target. I just don't think, I think it also comes down to the lack of creativity for both teams. I don't think they get the ball out wide. How many times have we seen them get the ball out wide and provide the ball into the box? With the Houston Dash, we haven't seen that once.
Appear to be head-to-head with Kruger and Ordonez. Both players going for the ball. You're very vulnerable in those situations. Nothing you can do.
No, there isn't. And those ones definitely hurt. They don't look like they hurt, but they do.
You can just read her lips. She said, was that not a foul, basically? I might be paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. Bianchi will push it back to Davidson. Ordonez wants back on. And there's a signal for her. Bianchi, head up, goes left. Needed that ball to go wider for Griffith. Instead it's Didasco cutting it back. Almost lost it, recovers well. Lind, that's deflected out by Cook.
See, I would love to see Caprice Didasco a little bit higher up. She's got such a good delivery when she's on the run, but she's just not getting into those areas to be able to provide the service for Ebony Salmon or Ordonez. I think it's always easy to assume it's the centre forward's fault, and it's not because I'm part of the centre forwards union when the team's not scoring, or let's be honest, 3 goals between Ordonez and Ebony Salmon just isn't enough. It really isn't. But you have to look at where are the goals going to come from, who's creating the opportunities, who's creating the chances. And within this game, we haven't really seen many times where they're getting down the end line, putting the ball into the box.
You know, with goal scorers, you always hear when they get one, they'll get another, they'll get another. The problem is they haven't got that real one that gets them jump started.
No, they haven't. Just ask Michelle Cooper. You know, she had 1 goal, and now she scored, you know, 2 in the last 2.
Upfield at St. George, nobody is closing her down. Now she goes wide of Peterson. And that was deflected or not? Prysock was back there to defend. She's been a force, St. George. Confident on the ball, for sure.
She's been bright, and I think she's obviously trying to get at the Houston dash back line. I just think sometimes she needs to get her head up a little bit more. You can see Ella Stevens was making that run on the left-hand side, but you can't fault St. George's willingness to get on the ball. She's certainly working really hard for her team, and she's getting into really good areas. She's always involved in something in one way or another.
It's a foul on Salmon, trying to win the ball. Because of national team call-ups and injuries, both teams have fairly light benches, you would say, in terms of experienced players or game changers out there. And Chicago have a couple of players, 3 of them actually coming back from injury. So who knows how many minutes they might be able to play. Penelope Hawking being one of them.
Yeah, Penelope Hawkins been a big miss for the Chicago Red Stars. I think a really bright spark, even when they were conceding so many goals, when they conceded 9 goals in 2 games and those types of results. I felt like she was a real bright spark even within those games.
Everybody gave up on that ball except for Cook. Stevens getting free, playing it back. Griffith, it's blocked. But if Chicago scored there, Houston would not want to watch that video back in a session this week because players stopped.
They did, and Cook anticipated that really well, didn't give up on the play. But Sam Leahy would have been so frustrated to have seen that happen if they would have scored off of that.
Cook. This is still a continuation of that, too. If they score here, it wouldn't take away that displeasure for sure because it's all part of the same thing.
Yeah, Cook does really well to keep the ball in play. Ella Stevens gets running 1v1. Nice and tenacious. You can see it fell to Griffith. Didn't really have much conviction in the strike, but good areas, good play from Ella Stevens. Good block in the end. Credit where it's due. Krista got out really well and defended it very well.
Getting closer to the hour mark. Pulled back by Peterson. Used to play with Orlando. Lost the ball there. And the foul. Looked like it wasn't going to be called initially, but then St. George had an advantage after that collision.
Do you see what I mean, though? She's always involved in the play. That's all you can ask for from the players to get involved, always looking to make something happen. And if you continue to be that way, I believe you make your own luck in football. And I think something will start to fall for her with regards to in front of goal.
Right sideline. It's been a matchup all game long. Salmon and Kruger on that side. The long throw in. Another collision as the ball goes out of play. Kruger higher up the field for this throw in. Goes back to Bianchi. Casey Kruger slipped up all nicely to Stevens. Good idea on the pass. Nicely played back by St. George. Recaro. Out wide on the right side. Chicago keeps possession. Drop back. Bianchi. Recaro. Going wide. Setting it into the box. That's headed away. Brought back down. Nicely done. Bianchi to Recaro. In front. The flick was wide. Kruger goes after it. Nice move on the sideline. Kept the ball in play. Kruger across. It's loose. Still loose. Kruger again with Stevens there. They can't get the shot at Campbell.
Absolutely brilliant play from Casey Kruger. I love this. doesn't give up on the play, drops her shoulder, finds herself in these areas. Great ball in as well. You were just wishing, hoping the ball was going to fall to Casey Kruger to be able to put it in the net. Caprice Dydasco defended it very well in the end. But look at this, I love that. Nice and composed and calm. Puts it into those into that area that can really impact it.
She deserved the goal for all the work she did on that play.
She did.
Off the corner from Bianchi, right off the training ground, played back outside. Davidson clips one up, but well wide of Jane Campbell.
I love it when players and teams do creative things, but I think sometimes you can overthink things like corners and set pieces. That ball's going to go back to Tiana Davison. She then has to take a touch, which allows her players to re-rack their runs. You can't just hit the ball in first time, because even though the ball went out of play, the players weren't in the position to be able to hit it on frame at all.
Dangerous play. Anyone have an advantage to you an hour into this?
I think the game's playing out exactly how we expected. I think the Houston Dash have certainly looked better going forward. I think they've created more. But it doesn't really matter in this league. We've seen it. We've seen teams having the most of the possession and then they end up conceding and losing the game. All that really matters is you win the games, but I think the game's playing out the way we exactly expected it to.
Yeah, the Houston half, a race for the ball. They collect it, and then it's lost off Dydasco. Join Chicago for their next home game on August 5th to host this very same Houston Dash side of the UKG NWSL Challenge Cup. Visit ChicagoRedStars.com/tickets for details. Chicago playing at home at SeatGeek Stadium. And we are going to see Chicago. It looks like Hawking and Nagasato, possibly a double switch. We'll see. Players were stretching a little bit on the sideline. And if it is those two, they are two players who have missed some games due to injury, but have been back in full training. Ball lost out again.
I think what I would love to see within this game, I think both teams have really got after the game, but I think the ball's been out of play so many times due to the turnovers of the ball, due to the quality. I don't think we've seen any consistent types of passing. I think someone needs to put their foot on the ball, just possess it, get that confidence. I think there's too many turnovers within this game.
Second half especially a bit disjointed. Cook versus Dydasco. Tried to spin. Dydasco hung in there. Solid 1v1 defending. Going to be another corner. Let's see if they do something different than the last one.
I think Caprice Dydasco's had a really good game. I think she's defended really well. I like Caprice when she's also going forward. I think she's defended this very, very well.
Julia Bianchi. Referee has spotted something first.
Looked like Jane Campbell's water bottle.
I saw that, yeah. She moved it. Bianchi drives that ball across, headed over the bar. Good setup, though.
Good ball. Bianchi climbed well, but in the end just couldn't convert.
On the head of Sharples. 64th minute. Still scoreless between these two sides. Campbell drives that long. Up for grabs. Sanchez. Headed by Recaro. Chicago gets back to it with Kruger. Lost it on that touch. It was a difficult ball for her to receive. Had so much pace on it. Here's Recaro. Calmness in the ball. That was well done. That beat about 3 Houston players. But then it's given away again. Upfield it comes. Salmon looking in the box, looking, shooting right at goal. Boyd cleared it. Couldn't catch it with 2 hands, but was able to move it away. But Salmon, for a quality goal scorer, she knows she has to finish that. Here's Sanchez firing from distance. Wide.
Good play from the Houston Dash. The opportunity was there. You could see what Ebony Salmon was trying to do. This turnover here, they're losing the ball in those danger areas that really matter. But I like this from Ebony Salmon. As soon as she comes inside on her left foot, you'd expect her to at least, you know, yes, it's a decent save in the end, but you expect the goalkeeper to make that in those areas. And then Maria Sanchez, still really far out. You're asking a lot. Not a bad effort, but you're asking a lot to beat the goalkeeper from there.
From the corner, Boyd one-hands it. Ordonez shields it. Shot taken through traffic. Right to goal, though, again.
Yeah, that was the moment from Ebony Salmon. It was good play. It wasn't an easy opportunity. It's not like it was an easy one where she cut inside. But those are the ones you just need a goal to go in to get your confidence. You know, you can't just wake up the next day and think you're just confident one day. It doesn't work like that.
But she did so well with just about everything on that play. Ball cut off. Red Stars moving it ahead to Recaro. Inside the circle, draws a crowd, finds Casey Kruger. Bianchi wanted it back. Kruger drives it instead. It deflects free on this right side. St. George catching up to it. Stevens and Cook on runs in the box. That's deflected out for a corner for Chicago.
I think St. George did everything she could in that situation. She tried to delay. She found herself in a really good spot. I just thought the Houston Dash should have cut out the ball in the initial play. She found herself in a really good area, was trying to wait for her teammates, and they just couldn't quite get there in time, and it's gone out for a corner. But everything Chicago Red Stars are doing when it's effective is when St. George has the ball, whether she's defending or attacking. She always looks dangerous.
Bianchi will take it. She'll float one up. Headed down by Stevens, blocked. It's loose in the box. Didasco does well to get it away from Cook.
I like that delivery from Bianchi. It was a good ball into the box. You could see the players knew exactly where it was going.
We are going to see Yuki Nagasato come in and Penelope Hawking come in. Griffith will be coming out and Stevens. We've not seen Penelope Hawking in a while. She has missed the last 6 games, got off to a good start this year, but then had the injury. So it's good to see her back. Her last game, May 21st at Portland. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see Penelope Hawking back. Even in the Chicago Red Stars team, when they weren't playing very well, she definitely was.
Recaro fires, it's blocked, and the follow-up. Flag stayed down on her first touch. She's back, Penelope Hawking.
Absolutely incredible. Missed the last 6 games. I just said exactly how well she played, even when the Chicago Red Stars team weren't playing very well. Everyone's looking to see if it was offside. You can see the flag stayed down, and so delighted for Penelope Hawking. You can see Nagasato was actually part of that on the set piece as well. Got a bit fortunate in the end. If anyone was offside, it would have been from the initial strike.
Looked immediately to see if the flag was up. Everything is subject to review, though. Every goal is reviewed, so they'll be looking. How about that, though, for a welcome back to the team?
Amazing. I'm delighted. Delighted from Penelope Hawking. Really, really impactful substitution. But she started how she finished, how she left off. In the Chicago Red Stars team that was conceding goals left, right, and center, she was always that bright spark.
It's a good goal. Well, coaches love it when they make a substitution and that sub makes an impact, but it doesn't usually happen in the first moments when they come in like that. Hawking's 3rd goal of the season in just her 9th appearance, but to miss 6 games like she did and not play in well over a month, closer to 2 months, That's big.
It is, and Nagasato had almost a secondary assist as well. She got on the ball on the set piece and was able to find Recaro. Really, really good play.
Nagasato's missed the last 3 games, making her return to the Chicago lineup. Both you would expect will be starting soon. Got to build up the minutes, though. Chicago looking for more, but the flag goes up on that side. All right, you're Chicago. How do you keep this? How do you win this game now? You're up 1-0.
I think you can see just in the first 2-3 minutes that Nagasato and Penelope Hockin have come in. They're great substitutions to be able to make, to bring into the game, to kind of, I wouldn't say see it out. I think you can't be, time wasted this, but there's still 20 minutes plus additional time to go. But I think getting into those areas and just having the quality. I think within this league, if you have the quality, you can definitely win games. There's too much turnover sometimes, and I think you just need to put your foot on the ball. Nagasato has that quality. You can see there, no like stressful stuff, just calm, relaxed, and being able to get on the ball and just draw the Houston Dash out. They need to score. They don't need to score again.
Chicago still attacking with St. George, finding Nagasato. The veteran goes towards the end line, played it across, grabbed by Campbell.
There was good positioning from Jane Campbell, because those ones are not easy. We've seen with Tyler Lucy last week with the cross come shot. Those things, the ball can really move within the game as well. So that was good positioning. Nagasato again getting into good areas. And you're right, JP, these players will definitely start when they're both fully fit, healthy, and they're not managing minutes. These players are starters.
Played back by Kruger. So you're Houston, you're home, you're down. You need one at least to get a point out of this game. How do you get that? What do they do differently? They have to do something differently.
Put the ball in the back of the net, as simple as it sounds, create more chances. I felt Caprice Didasco was getting higher up the field of play. You can see when she picked off the ball from Casey Kruger, they're just not getting any joy.
Don't concede. Another one, though. Campbell came off her line to read that one well. 73rd minute. Houston at home, trailing. Salmon on the right, into the box, going outside. The shot was blocked. Davidson did well, arms behind the back.
Yeah, this is an example again from St. George here. It's just this touch just lets her down. Yes, it's good positioning from Jane Campbell, just a little bit better quality. And you can see straight away, Houston Dash come straight down the other end. It's really been end-to-end stuff with St. George and Ebony Salmon. Whenever they get the ball, they're so direct in those 1v1 situations.
Sanchez corner to the middle, straight up towards the end line. And now finally out for a Houston corner. '74th minute. Chicago leads on a Penelope Hockin goal. Recaro at the near post, helping out Boyd. Didasco putting one up. Boyd out. Got one hand to it. That was enough at that point. Brysock turns it back inside. A couple players missing that. Pushed wide by Houston's Vigiano. Sent in and again given away.
I like that from Boyd. Really, really good strong hand.
First goal since April 15th. Coming in the 69th minute. Shortly, seconds really, right, after she came in.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's a true depiction of how good she has been for the Chicago Red Stars team. I think whenever they've been playing not so well, she's always looking really effective, causing problems all the time in games, creating opportunities. And I think it's massive that she's back.
Out of USC, where she's their all-time leading goal scorer. Right side, Didasco, tucking it in. Vigiano. Couple of cuts, couple more. Drives it across, had a lot of pace on it and skipped away from Garris. Garris picks it up, well away from goal. Turns it back upfield to the left. Knocked away, should be a corner. And it is.
In the first half, I felt like Garris was getting on the ball way more than in this second half. And they looked really efficient when they were going forward. They might not have made the right decisions, but they were still, as a coach, you still want your players to get into those positions, at least to have the opportunity to miss. I think in this second half, the Houston Dash haven't really got higher up the field of play to impact the opposition's goal.
Important set piece here, 76th minute. Again, it's Didasco. Boyd, again with that one hand to it. Settled, Salmon floats one up! Right over the bar.
Good strong hand from Boyd. Really, really good. Again, I'm not sure that was the best option from Ebony Salmon in that situation. I'm not quite sure if she was going for the lob or the chip. I think the ball has to be put back into that area where you can see Ordonez was trying to impact it. You can see what she was trying to do, but you're asking a lot.
Hydration break while we were on that replay. And not only hydration, but now you can get some real coaching here, because Sam Lady has to come up with something with his players to get a goal, at least to tie this game with some 14 minutes left and some stoppage time.
And this is a perfect example, JP, of what I was saying to you. I think the Houston Dash have definitely had more of the momentum, the possession, but the Chicago Red Stars have put the ball in the back of the net. Penelope Hawkins come in and put it in there. Chris Petroselli, I'm sure, will be delighted the fact they're 1-0 up. Ultimately, in a perfect world, you'd play well when you'd win, but all that really matters is as long as you win and they can progress from that. If they was to win this game, it'll be back-to-back results for Chris Petroselli's side. 3-4 weeks ago, that felt like unfathomable.
They haven't done that really since 2021, but when you look down at their bench, it's thin for Houston. They mentioned before, they're low on midfielders, right? They have Barbara Oliveri, who's an offensive-minded player, and Cameron Tucker, who could come in as subs, but it's not like what Chicago just put on there with Nagasato and her experience and Hawking and her skill in the kind of season she was having. She's normally a starter.
Yeah, they definitely have the better depth, and I did say that before. I felt like during this time, the Chicago Red Stars might actually be okay. They might have a better showing based upon the fact that their roster and their 11 are actually a decent standard based upon the other team's players that they've lost. We saw Sam Lady there with the tactics board, and I completely understand that. You want to give guidance to your players. I think ultimately sometimes it comes down to you as a player and an individual. When you're getting into those areas, you have to make the better decisions to be able to impact the play.
And it is Oliveri who's going to come in for Garris. That's the first change that Houston's made. First and only change at this moment.
I think that makes sense. Garris has been quite quiet in the second half. I thought she had a really bright first half.
Boyd will put it back into play. A couple of unorthodox one-handed saves recently, but if you're a goalkeeper and you keep the ball out, nobody's going to criticize, right?
No, and it's strong hand and it gets it away from the goal. She's not parrying the ball into a crowded area. She's coming and she's commanding. That's all you can really ask for.
Nagasato will get the return from Bianchi.
If you notice as well that since Nagasato came into the game, look how much better the Chicago Red Stars are possessing it.
Yep.
They look more calm, composed, and I said it just needs someone to put their foot on the ball. Penelope Hawkins as well. Just needs someone to put their foot on the ball and not give up and not turn over the ball so easily and cheaply.
St. George stays with it. Good job. Bianchi, Kruger, 80th minute. Chicago leads Houston. 1-0 is your score. 3 straight NWSL games without a goal for Houston. 4 straight games they've been shut out in all competitions. Will it happen again? Looks like Jacobs is down. Training staff out again. Yep. With Jacobs down, 81st minute. It's got to be tough when you have any kind of an injury, whether it's a cramp, whether it's a muscle, and you're playing in 100-degree heat or thereabouts, heat and humidity. It's got to be tough.
Yeah, players in this Houston Dash team will be acclimatized, but still.
She felt something after she reached for the ball. Well, they have more depth if they have to bring in somebody on the back line. They just don't have attacking depth. We're going to see another change for Chicago. Aguilera has come in. We'll have to verify who has come out. Jenna Bike also. Well, let's double check that. It's going to be Wright and Bike, not Aguilera. Let's verify that. I saw 14. Here is Kruger on the ball. In a space it comes. Nagasato's on the run. It was tackled away at the last moment. Chicago is going to be able to keep the ball and have a corner.
Lind recovered quite well there because it looked like it was going to potentially be causing a problem. Nagasato's been excellent since she's come into this game, really causing problems, exactly what you need your substitutions to come in and do, and they've had a real impact.
There's Jacobs off to the side. Wants back in. Got to get out for sure. Stretching. Ball is driven in. It bounces in the box, always dangerous. Ricaro's after it and was tackled away. It's still gonna be a throw-in for Chicago. They get it in quickly. Nagasato was there. They'll still have the ball. They can take their time. Ready for the throw-in. That's off Cook. Blasted away by Houston. It's going to go out.
It's difficult for Sam Leahy as well, because I actually think the Houston Dash have probably had one of their better performances within this game. They possessed the ball well. They've created a lot. But the players just need to make better decisions when they're in the 18-yard box or in and around there. They found themselves into good areas, but wasted a lot of opportunities, and I think we see that a lot with this Houston Dash team. But the positive is that they're getting into those areas. They just need to make better decisions.
So Davidson now played in front and partially blocked, taken over by Recaro. Those subs confirming it was Bike for St. George and Wright for Malum.
St. George certainly put in that work. She was everywhere.
One of their most effective players. Now you're in the 85th minute. Houston down by a goal. Jacobs, who has come back in, right side. Badasco, off a block. Knocked out of play. Gathered in by Kruger. Look at Kruger still going. Blocked and then down again. Like Jacobs in that collision. Ball out for a throw-in, but not yet.
I think Natalie Jacobs has looked quite comfortable in that bit of more advanced position than usually playing in the centre back. We thought originally they were playing in a 3-back, which it seemed like they started, and it seemed like they switched pretty early on. But I think she's done a relatively good job in those areas.
Flicked upfield by Nagasato. Cook was after it. Cook's worked very hard in this game tonight, both sides of the ball. Ava Cook. Recaro. Right sideline. Good strong run, but the legs got tangled up there, and the foul is going to be given. And the card's already out. Courtney Peterson is the first player booked today. Took down Bike. Good strong run by Bike. He's been a sub most of the season. This is her 13th game. Started a couple. Out of Boston College, played with Gotham a year ago. We're in the 87th minute. Houston has to probably hope for a big number for stoppage time. But they've shown no signs tonight, really, of scoring that elusive goal.
They haven't. I think in the first half, they got into really good areas, good spots to impact the game. But in the second half, they kind of lost their way a little bit.
Jenna Bike is over the ball. It's played short just to keep possession. Cook running it to the corner flag area. Taking time off the clock. Jenna Bike. That's Aaron Wright, the veteran, keeping it. They're just taking about a half a minute or more off of the clock. Well done.
Smart play, good game management for the Chicago Red Stars. It's so frustrating when you're on the reverse side, when you're trying to win the ball back. It's the most frustrating thing.
And this is all they need, more possession. Nagasato, that's blocked by the dash, but given right back. Caro with a flick, and the offside flag goes up. So you're Houston, got to be more desperate here, got to risk things, sending as many players forward as you possibly can, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, just go route one, flick it on, hope. It doesn't need to be pretty soccer, just get the ball forward, because time's running out.
Stoppage time may not be as kind to them as they would like. Jacobs lost it there. Hawking was right there. Campbell. Prysock. 89th minute. Chicago leads Houston by the score of 1-0. Peterson drives it. That's blocked and cleared in one motion by Chicago. On a bounce, Nagasato after it. It's headed forward by Bike. Prysock moving it left. Sanchez on the move. Maria Sanchez going wide. Looking, Salmon's in the box. It's deflected out of play. Well, we don't usually see the big three out there for 90 minutes, but they don't have a lot of subs on that bench. Experienced players, offensive players, so, and if you're gonna get a goal, you would think one of these three is gonna get it. They go with a short corner. Sanchez into the box. Again, it's right at Boyd.
I understand they want to shift the Chicago Red Stars back line, but I don't understand why you go over short corner there. The whole box is loaded. You know, you've got a minute to go plus additional time. Just put the ball in the box, put the ball where it hurts them, and hopefully something can happen. Anything can happen when you put the ball into the box.
Boyd out of goal. Cleared it with the left foot. Didasco almost at 90 minutes here. We're waiting for the signal officially on stoppage time, and there it is. 6 minutes minimum added on in stoppage time. It is presented as always by Verizon. So it's a decent number. It's a healthy number for Houston. And it goes to Viggiano. I thought she handled it. It was close. Chicago will just clear it to safety. Throw in Houston. Up against the scoreboard and up against the clock as well. Jacobs advancing straight up. Nagasato, strong header. Settled by Lind. Peterson, left side. Launches one up for goal. Boyd grabbed it in traffic. She has been sure-handed this entire night.
Boyd has had an excellent game. Commanding, confident, strong hand to get the ball away, coming out and getting it. Peterson put that ball in there. And that's exactly what they need to at this point. It doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to go into those areas. Something can happen. Force someone to make a mistake.
Hawking nodding it down to herself. Will take some time off the clock, and then lost it there at the end. Ally is proud to support this presentation of the National Women's Soccer League. Ally, do it right. Jane Campbell up the right foot, near the halfway line. There's one in the air by Chicago. It comes back the other way. Brysock down the wing, headed out. Kruger. Look how quickly they're getting it into play. They have no choice. Can't be patient now. Salmon. Another throw in. Ordonez. Didasco. That was blocked off Jacobs. Her shot didn't get through. Prysock. Lind. Ali Prysock. Didasco waited, nicely timed run. Salmon in the box, tackle away. Casey Kruger, big time play, and then Davidson clears it out.
What a tackle that is from Casey Kruger. Absolutely brilliant.
Viggiano. That's flicked away. Set right back in, and it's wide.
I love this ball from Caprice Didasco. Ebony Salmon looked like she was going to get it off, but Casey Kruger, fantastic tackle, absolutely brilliant.
Very little margin for error when you're tackling inside the box.
She always looked like she knew exactly what she was doing. Ebony Salmon just took a little bit too long and delayed it a little bit, but having said that, Casey Kruger came across and fantastic tackle.
Didasco. A block. Chicago very much in this mentally and physically. Going hard after every ball. Over the top. Nagasato. Waits smartly. Wasn't on, didn't want to lose possession. That's the veteran Nagasato. Hawking. Recaro. Hawking. Her goal, the only goal of the game. Coming in as a sub and making something happen almost instantaneously. And she draws the foul.
Nagasato and Penelope Hawking have been absolutely brilliant since they've come into this game, but Nagasato, unbelievable. It's almost like the game slows down when the ball's around her, and it's exactly what they've needed to do. Get the ball, play it, no need to rush, and she's been brilliant since she's come into this game.
Aguilera's going to come in for Ava Cook, and Cook was not on the score sheet, but she outworked most of the players on the field.
Yeah, a lot of tireless work, selfless running, good performance from Ava Cook.
You can't be comfortable wearing that face shield. in temperatures, heat and humidity of Houston. So Aguilera is in, just back from playing internationally with Puerto Rico in a tournament that they had. On the whistle, those two keeping it. Nice job by Didasco. Jacobs, Lind, you could see her pointing at her teammates. It's got to go the other way, and fairly quickly. More time was most likely added for that last substitution, but maybe a half minute. It's not the way they want to be going. This is Price Hawk. Drives it. Those are risky passes. They got a break there, but maybe not, because a foul was just called in that collision. And it's head-to-head. Bike is one of the players down, and it's Olivieri, the other. The yellow card's out. Didn't see exactly who the aggressor was on that. But either way, play was stopped. And this is going to add more time as well.
From seeing it the way I saw it in my first moment, I have no idea how this is not a Houston Dash free kick. And it looks like Olivieri's getting the yellow card.
Yeah.
I have to see the replay again.
Let's watch.
I have no idea how this has been given.
Oh, her arm, right? Her arm hit Bike. I don't know about the head, but watch the arm. Right there.
But Bike is also, she couldn't do anything about that.
Right.
Bike's running to her arm. She
Right.
couldn't do anything about that.
Right.
I think that's a poor decision from the referee. I really do. She's got there. Whoever gets to the ball first, 9 times out of 10, you can see what Olivieri thinks of that as well.
She agrees with you.
She's going that way. There's no way
Yep.
she knew what was behind her.
Yep.
Bike's come through. If anything, it would have been a foul the other way around. And the Houston Dash were actually on the attack on the left-hand side. It looked like they had an overload.
Well, there can't be much time left. Boyd will put it back into play. On the referee's whistle. Chicago trying to win their second straight game by the same 1-0 scoreline. Boyd's clearance off Nagasato. Off another block. Jacobs heads it down. Nagasato on the ball. Hawking tracking it. Lin going forward. It's going to go out. But there was a foul. Can't be much left. Houston has to launch this. Campbell knows and does. Headed down. Ordonez will try to chase it. Bike was there, cleared it out. Throw in for the dash. We're at 8 minutes now. Stoppage time. Into the 9th. That is it. Game over. And the Chicago Red Stars, with Emily Boyd, have 2 straight shutout wins. First time they've had back-to-back wins since 2021.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. Chris Petroselli will be delighted. 2 back-to-back 1-0 wins. Penelope Hocking comes into the game. Nagasato, I thought, was absolutely brilliant when she came in as well. Real impact, coming in first touch, gets her goal after being out for 6 games.
I think we can figure out what our play of the match is tonight, brought to you by Ally.
Yeah, obviously Penelope Hocking comes in. Nagasato actually gets involved as well, gets a nice little flick on to Cook. Ball falls to Recaro. Penelope Hocking's in the right place at the right time. And that's a skill in itself, being able to follow through. Some people might just think, oh, it's a simple tap-in, which it is. But not many players have anticipated that. They took a deflection on its way through. First touch. I'm delighted for Penelope Hocking because she was excellent before she went out with that injury for 6 games. You can see she's looking over at the assistant referee to see if it was off, and really good finish.
Great job by Hocking and the Red Stars. They get a 1-0 victory over the Houston Dash. We're coming right back. You're watching the Ally NWSL matchup here on CBS Sports. Well, big night for the team in white. Chicago Red Stars get their second straight win. If you're Houston, though, it's 4 straight NWSL games without a goal, 5 straight in all competitions. That's going to be tough.
It is, and they're not creating many opportunities. They're not scoring goals. Their centre forwards are not scoring, so it's always going to be difficult.
Penelope Hocking with the game's only goal. It came in the 69th minute. It is her 3rd goal of the season. She missed 6 games due to an injury, so that was unfortunate, but she comes back tonight, and she is already on the score sheet. Game-winning goal for Chicago. We've got Penelope Hocking with us. Penelope, thanks for joining us. Congrats on your goal. Tell us what you're thinking when you come out on the field. You haven't played in 6 games, and what happens next?
Honestly, I wasn't really expecting, my first touch to be a goal, but, I was just super excited to be back and playing with my team, and I feel like just all my hard work off the field just paid off, and I got the goal.
Penelope Leanne here. Talk me through the time you've had out 6 games. What was going through your mind, and psychologically when you're not playing and you see the team losing and you can't impact it? How difficult is that from a player's perspective?
I mean, it's super difficult, like staying in the stands and trying to still be a part of the team and still have a role in the team. It's super difficult, and it's tough that my role changes throughout the season, but I just have to adapt. And these girls are so receptive, and I feel like I can come into the locker room and give advice what I'm seeing on the field. But I'm grateful for the time I had out, because I just get to see a different perspective, and when I'm out, I get to see other people play and what the other teams are doing, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel like it impacted me when I came back.
Welcome back. Congrats on the goal. Congrats on the win. Thank you.
Thanks, Penelope.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, here are the highlights, and she'll be involved in one of them.
Yeah, she will be. Instant impact. We're going to see these ones here, from within the game. You can see the ball was playing out. In the end, I thought Cook did very well. I love this creativity down the left-hand side from Stevens, and it falls to Griffiths, and she couldn't quite convert it. But really good creativity from Stevens down the left-hand side. We highlighted her before the game, and Griffiths just tried to hit it, couldn't quite get the shot off. And then in this situation, we saw the ball switched out a number of times to Ebony Salmon. I love how direct she is. She was going towards goal. As soon as she came inside, it's on frame, but that has to go in the goal. I mean, it's not an easy opportunity, but it was created for her, creates it herself, cuts inside, does all the hard work, and it's always going to be an easy save in the end. Good play from Casey Kruger to see that one out. And talk about instant impact. Good ball, good throw. Nagasato ends up flicking it around the corner to Cook. It falls to Recaro. Slight deflection, and Penelope Hocking carried her run through. You can see she was looking across the line. Anticipation is everything in those areas, and she finds herself in there and puts it in the back of the net. I'm delighted for Penelope Hocking. Been out for 6 games. I thought she was excellent before being out of her injury, and to get the game winner, I'm happy for her.
Well, North Carolina is still on top with 26 points. Houston loses out on a chance to climb further up the standings. You've got Chicago that is below, though, and they still need some help. But 2 straight wins has them thinking in a positive direction. Chicago
Red Stars are certainly in a better position now than they were a month ago. And I think during this time, we'll see teams like the Orlando Pride getting some really good results as well, and Louisville, and teams will start to climb up the table. But this isn't it, JP. The teams will flip-flop throughout the season. North Carolina Courage are top now, and then someone else will go top. Washington Spirit will probably go back up there, and that's what's great about this league.
6 points separating first place from 6th place, and a couple of teams only like a point or so behind 6th place San Diego. Penelope Hocking with the game's only goal. It comes in the 69th minute, her 3rd goal of the season. Chicago gets the win. 2 straight wins by a 1-0 score. 2 straight shutouts for Emily Boyd. For Leanne Sanderson and our entire crew, I'm JP Della Camera. This has been a presentation of the NWSL on CBS Sports. Good night, everyone.
Mm-hmm.